Hello, we're back.
Hi, hi friends.
We
Welcome.
may have been missed, maybe not.
We
But
missed y'all.
yeah, that's right. We are here. We're here for it.
All
Uh,
right. Well, this morning we kind of talking about different ways we access the spirit realms and different ways that we can communicate with what we believe we call our guides, our guide teams. You maybe call them your angels or um, even ancestors, people who have passed on that you feel are watching out for you, looking over you, helping you. And sometimes guides can be like spirit animals. Maybe you've heard people talk about their spirit animal. Um, so we're going to kind of jump in a big category today of contacting your helpers, your guides, your spirit friends in a lot of different ways. So we figured we'd start with some cards. So we'll do a card pull together. You want to just
uh, okay. So, which deck are you using? We got to jump right in.
yeah.
All right.
I'm
Jump
going to
right.
use Dreams of Gaia. This is my OG deck. This is the very first tarot deck I bought. It's an oracle deck, so it is not the traditional tarot. I was really as my first deck, I went into it really thoughtfully. I did a lot of research. I looked at a bunch of different decks, and I was really just looking for something that called to me, that I saw, and I was like, yes, that's the deck. And it was also really important to me, like the little explanation book. And she's a great writer. I loved the way that she did her explanations, and I loved the art. So that was literally all I did to choose this deck.
Agree.
Go ahead.
Agree. So basically, Claire is saying what spoke to her, what called to her, and brought a certain level of intentionality to it. So, you'll know when you see your deck. It took me a while to find one that I liked at all. So yeah, so there's that.
Yeah. And Julie has a lot more knowledge about the traditional tarot deck. Super interesting, beautiful history. You can hit her up if you've got questions about that. And she's like currently developing kind of like a program, right? Like a curriculum type thing.
Well, it is a curriculum, and it was actually, an outsider kind of asked me to develop this, and so I've started doing that. And I've really been reflecting on people accessing their guides, and it's not, my guides had said it's not a parlor trick. So there's an element of reverence, even though these can be very playful, joyously engaging tools. The way in which your tools only as good as the work you've done inside yourself. So it's not a shortcut, but it's an adjunct to this journey that we're on to, I don't know, self-actualization, right?
Hmm. Yeah. So when we're thinking about, okay, who are we? Who or what are we communicating with when we're pulling cards? That's up to you. For me, it depends on who I call on. Since this one's called the Dreams of Gaia, often I just kind of take some breaths. I connect with the spirit of the earth and Mother Gaia and that great feminine goddess energy, the birth and death cycle, everything that we associate with kind of nature and our beautiful planet. So other times, like I've got another one here. It's a Kuan Yin oracle deck. Kuan Yin is a beautiful goddess of Chinese descent, and she's also called Tara or Tara in different cultural lineages. But you can call on specific deities that resonate with you. You can call on your ancestors, and then you can call on your specific guide team. You can call on your higher self. So today, Julie, who are you calling on? What deck are you using, by the way?
In Kim Cran's The Archetype deck, Wild Unknown. I really like her art. I find that some of her explanations in her traditional tarot are really short, and if you didn't have your own connection to your guide team, or you had no other materials around tarot, they're very limited in her explanation. So I'm mostly drawn to her art, because it's just powerful and dynamic and bold. And there's nothing wrong with the accompanying, text, but I was drawn to this deck because of the art.
Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to show, Julie got me this maybe 2 years ago because I love Jane Austen so much. And as a literature lover, she was right on point. So there's oracle decks for any interest. And that's what's beautiful. I think the fact that we've kind of branched off from the traditional tarot, because the traditional tarot does not call to me necessarily, and I don't know anything about it. So maybe if I did, I'll take Julie's course when she's done developing it, and then I might be more into it. But these oracle decks do speak to me. And so again, just finding the one that calls, hey, take me home.
Yeah. And, when I pull a card, I'm oftentimes getting messages about the card. So I will get the explanation first and foremost from that, because one person can't say what the card means. Like that's such a narrow lens to look at this through. So it could be a day that, like, the day before you tripped over a rock, right? And you were just mindlessly thinking about something, you tripped over a rock, you skinned your knee, whatever. And then the next day you pull the stone card. It's like, oh, wait, hold on. Maybe it's asking me to go back to what was going on yesterday. Whereas the explanation in the book could be something totally else.
Right.
So, developing that connection, right, to your own intuition, then the power of the cards is heightened. It's heightened by your own intuition, that maybe it's not limited to what our idea about what this specific archetype is. Maybe this is something my sister did that, you know what I mean? So just keeping that open mind while staying really, like you said, connected, right? Whether you're connected to the earth or Gaia, you're rooted. Because when we're not rooted and we engage with all these tools, it's hit or miss.
Yeah. And this was something else that we've been talking about, is just, when we are opening ourselves as a channel for beings, energies, entities to commune with us, first of all, we have to give permission. So I am calling on the highest vibration of guidance and wisdom right now. You can just say a prayer, whatever comes out of your heart, and you can ask for protection. If that feels, I know sometimes people don't like the word protection because we don't actually ever need protection from anything. Our eternal souls are safe forever. But I think there is an element of power in calling on protection to say, if you are not of the highest vibration, you are not welcome here. You cannot come here. I am not open to you. Julie, what are some prayers, like some things that you pray?
Well, I pretty much do a lot of only light enters, only light leaves, only light emits from my body. And so that's a way of taking responsibility, right, for what I'm putting out. So if I am emitting, dissonant, disharmonious frequencies, that is what I'm going to get back. That's just the nature of it. So I can put up this field, right? Only light enters, but it's like, and only light leaves, because that's a dynamic channel where I am keeping my side of the street clean. Because guess what? Archangel Michael or whoever else, they're not super excited about meeting me in the gutter. It's very hard for them to come down to that. So it is on me to start to elevate my experience of what it means to be a human in this.
I'd like to just add, to connect to our most recent episode about Energize Your Life, which I think when this comes out will be 2 previous. but that heart center, the heart chakra is so powerful. So speaking from your heart, you can even like bring your hands together in front of your heart, whatever feels good to draw your attention here and speak from here, because that is the part in our body that symbolizes those lower energies rising to meet and the higher energies descending to meet in the middle. So that's why speaking from your heart is so, don't just recite some prayer that you think someone told you is important or powerful. Like,
Yeah, tune in, right? Tune in. And another thing that's come to my attention lately, I've seen this happening, is people, okay, so more and more people are accessing these divine channels. And so the people who are yet to access that, it's not a race. Nobody's better, nobody's worse, but they're like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to be able to do that. And so there's this striving energy, right? This desire to get there and to do that. And that is actually an energy of lack. It's an energy of I'm lacking something that I want. And it's an allowance. It will enter in, it arrives just on time. Because if there is a desire to activate these gifts and these, divine connections, so that I may be perceived as a certain way, so that I may receive attention, affirmation, money, followers. If any of that's part of the equation, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So there's that heart, the purity of the heart. So if it is for the highest good of all,
that's a beautiful prayer, for the highest good of all.
For the highest good of all. Because in my heart, I may want something, right? I may want, my son to find somewhere to live without having to go through this arduous journey. That might not be for the highest good of all.
Right.
And so that's, that coming from that heart for the highest good of all, that's when these tools start to come online and start to work for us. Someone told me once they were using their pendulum to bet on gambling, on games. And I was like, yeah, total misuse of these tools. Well, everything the pendulum said was wrong. They lost every single bet. I'm like, okay, because that doesn't work. So you don't sit down to these things to be like, okay, is this person my new lover? Tell me
it's
yes.
Not the magic 8 ball that we had as a kid.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I guess recently there's been this energy of like everybody wanting to get all their answers. And it's like, okay, the answers are inside of you. And, really cultivating that connection with yourself and with your wounds. You can't skip over it. You talked one week about the spiritual bypassing, right? And this is a different kind of bypassing where people are just like, oh yeah, I want to get all this fun stuff. And I'm gonna smudge my house, and I got all the essential oils, and I got all my crystals. All those things are beautiful. But where's this desire coming from, right? What's it about? And so it just, I feel like I wanted to reflect on that because I'm just seeing so much of this going on where I'm like, but why do you want to activate these skills? Why?
And a lot of times I had that thought a lot of times when I come to my deck, my higher self will say to me, like, I'll sit down and maybe ask questions about a specific situation or a decision I'm trying to make. And it's almost every time I sit down, it's like, you already know the answer. You already know the answer. And I like laugh and I'm like, I know I already know the answer, but I still want to pull a pretty card and see what it says, So like sometimes it's also just, maybe I'm not seeing something in the situation. Can I see it from a different perspective, or can I change the view that I'm looking at this from? And sometimes cards can help with that.
Yes. And sometimes, you know what, I would say when I'm feeling particularly like I'm doing this solo, this life thing solo sometimes, just having a beautiful card in that moment. It's like getting a little greeting card from the universe, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, thank you for sending me mail today. I was needing that.
Yes. That's beautiful.
So yeah. All right, greeting card from the universe.
Reading card, we're asking for whatever wants to come through right now for whomever is listening. And you can shuffle however you want to. I have friends who are like, how do you shuffle? How do you pull? Some people spread them all out and then kind of hover their hand over. I'm kind of thinking about the question I just asked while I'm shuffling. Sometimes a card just flies out and you're like, oh, well, that's clearly the one for right now. Sometimes it doesn't, and I just randomly pick. Oh. Perception.
Perception.
And this is one of the major arcanas in this deck. I won't read the whole thing because it is a little lengthy, but first of all, she's just gorgeous. So Julie taught me this before I even look up the meaning.
Yeah.
I'll just sit with the art first. I love that she's not blinded, but kind of she's wearing a mask or a blindfold over her eyes. She's seeing through like these eagle eyes. And what really stands out to me is this sword. And it makes me think of the Bible. It calls it the sword of truth. So I'll just read.
Archangel Michael too. We just talked about Archangel Michael, and he is the sword.
That's right.
The sword bearer.
So some of the key words for this one are understanding, worldview, opinion, clarity, and objectivity. Perception shapes your worldview. So this pertains to the organization, identification, and interpretation of sensory information in order to understand what we sense and experience.
Which is exactly what we're just talking about.
Just talked about this.
Okay.
When the perception card appears in your reading, it symbolizes an opportunity or need to look at how you analyze and interpret your experiences, and how your interpretation then influences your choices and the ability to see and weigh options and opportunities. Oh, and this one has this really beautiful story. Can I read this story?
Sure.
I love it so much. Okay. I get this card a lot. So it's a good reminder to me that life is not happening to me. Life is happening through me based on how I'm analyzing.
It's happening by you, for you, and through you. So it's also for you.
For you.
So if we can remember that, even when it doesn't look great, this is happening for me, by me, for me.
I love that. Yes. And we had just, when Julie and I were freaking out because we had just talked about knowing. How do we know that these messages are true? How do we know? And this journey has taken me into a knowing that is more of a sensory knowing, a sense that I get. And that's more tied to your intuition versus knowing the fact or this proven fact about this, right? It's a knowing in the body and in the spirit.
It's gnosis. Gnosis.
Yes.
Versus knowing. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Have you ever heard the story of the 6 blind men and the elephant? They each stand before the elephant. The first man stands at the elephant's head and his hands upon the elephant's trunk. Because of the way the elephant's trunk is shaped and feels moving beneath his hands, he believes that the elephant is like a snake. The second man stands at the elephant's tusk. Because of the way its tapered shape and pointed end feels beneath his hands, the second man believes that the elephant is like a spear. The third man stands at the elephant's ear. Because of the way it is shaped and feels flat and waving from side to side, he believes the elephant is like a fan. The fourth man stands at the elephant's leg. Because of the thickness and strength of the elephant's leg, he believes that the elephant is like a tree. The fifth man stands at the elephant's side, and when he feels the mighty expanse, he believes that the elephant is like a wall. Finally, the sixth man stands at the elephant's tail, and because of the way it feels, he believes that the elephant is like a rope. Suddenly, a sighted man comes upon them and shouts for them to cease. He asks them why they are fighting over what the elephant looks like. So each of the blind men tells him the tale. The sighted man looks at the elephant and then to the blind men before him. He says, "You are all right. The elephant's trunk is like a snake. The elephant's tusk is like a spear. The elephant's ear is like a fan. The elephant's leg is like a tree trunk. His side is like a wall and his tail like a rope. But you are also wrong because each of the parts you have touched are just parts of the whole." So it's about the big picture. And our opinion and our perception is never the whole picture. We can't. It's impossible. So that was our message from Mother Gaia today. Our
Thank
perception.
you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I got the eternal child, and that is the divine child, and it brings an openness, a playfulness, and that is a purity, brings a purity, so that to me is how I would like to approach all these tools, right? All these tools for divination, all these challenges that arise with that eternal child, not from what happened yesterday with that pessimism of like, here we go again. That eternal child wakes up every day excited, with just a full heart. And that is the way in which I guess I would approach a deck like the eternal child, with that purity of heart and openness and no agenda. I mean, the eternal child isn't plotting or scheming or trying to gain, it's got that just eternal child energy to it. So I will read what Kim Kranz has to say about
Also interesting, coming off of Mother's Day.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. The eternal child is connected to the timeless, ageless, and infinite aspect of life. It is radiant and fearless and seeks joy above all else and at any cost. So that speaks to me, that we do a lot in life that we quote have to, that doesn't bring us joy. But if engaging in a relationship with someone is not bringing, the scales should be tipped to joy. There's more joy than not, right? I mean, that's what we're here for, to radiate joy. So let's see. Seeks joy above all else and at any cost. It struggles being bound to an aging body with physical limitations in a world that demands attention to detail and logistics. The eternal child wants to nix all the rules and responsibilities and go beyond what others say is possible. It wants to return with plenty of friends to the land of the free, where divine wine and creativity pour from the earth and the sky. We all want to sip from the well of the eternal child. And this makes this card naturally popular, perhaps even famous. The eternal child glimmers. It reminds us of what is possible and what is magical about this precious life. So I guess the energy of the eternal child, bringing that to the deck is paramount in receiving wisdom. So because when this card is out of alignment, it's addictive, it's selfish, it's adrift, and it burns out. So if I'm bringing any of this energy to this, like I need to find a lover, or I need to find, the answers to this, you're not going to get them. Bring that open heart, right, to all these tools, whether it's pendulum, tarot, automatic writing, non-dominant handwriting. Claire, you've got some that you like to use with I think the Bible, right?
Yeah. So before we jump into that, though, thank you for sharing that. It stands out to me that we are the channel but we're still us. So the readings are going to have, and other readers may have a different approach, but for me, even when I'm doing a reading for another person, it's still flowing through my channel, and so it's going to have Claire flavor on it. Like the fact that I pull this perception card today, it's literally what I've been thinking about, it's what I've been contemplating, it's in my field already. And so I believe that I attracted that card. For you, the child, literally your theme this year was like, I'm going to have more fun. I'm going to be in my joy. I'm going to follow my joy. Right. And so I do believe that it's not just a clean channel, but others may be. I am not a clean, like maybe mediums feel that way, that they're more of a open channel completely, and whatever wants to come through, without.
I would say it depends for myself what I'm doing. So like if I'm literally channeling for someone I've never met, right? I'll get names of doctors and I'll get things I don't know. That is kind of being an open channel
Right.
in that way, because it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Oh, but then sometimes I feel like less effective when it's personal to me. So
Yeah.
if it is about my kids, or if it is about a special relationship, I'm not a clear channel because I've got wounds there still, because I have attachment to outcome in terms of my kids and all that. I'm not a clear channel. And, people will say to me, how come you just can't channel about that, for your kids? And I'm like, because I have attachment. I have attachment. So just to speak off of what you're saying, when I'm channeling for a client, it's much cleaner because I have no attachment to what is coming through, because it's not about me. It's not about me at all. So it's like, I'll say something like, I had this one client and I said, I don't know. They said she'll be leading you in life with the rope tied to your nose. I just tell them exactly what's coming through. And I'm thinking this could all be craziness, but I'm just going to say exactly what it is. She's like, oh, that's so funny. My daughter just got this toy this week and it's a bunny with a string and she's pulling it around the house by its nose. Oh. So, I mean, I am a clear channel for that stuff because it's not about me. It's super easy. It's so easy. But when it's about you, right? That's when those filters, that's when those blocks are there, because so it's kind of like maybe that's advice to people. Like,
yeah, I think we talk about that, like your attachment, your expectation going into it.
Totally. And when I started channeling, I wasn't trying to channel. My life was a mess. I was literally meditating, as I had done daily for quite some time. And one day it literally was just like I mean, I felt this electrical jolt come through my body, and it was like, and I was like, what is going on? So, I mean, and the process of that, the process of me like doing this, and I was like, what is happening here? And it was a journey. It was like several years of a journey, but I never sat down and was like, okay, I want spirit to talk to me.
It speaks to the work that you had been doing sorting through those past experiences, sorting through your traumas, sorting through the stories you were telling yourself, it
totally
was all the pre-work.
Totally. And that's what is so important. So, I mean, I would say to people who are interested, first of all, why? Okay, why are you interested? Because you think it'd be cool or whatever. You want to make a bunch of money, whatever it is. Not that there's anything wrong with being cool or making a bunch of money, but be clear about what your why. And then if it's like, well, because, I just want to feel special. Okay, well, we are special and we want to feel special, but that's probably a wound. where in my life did I first feel that I wasn't special and that I needed something external to prove to me? Like, follow those threads. Like, that's the gold, right? That's the gold right there. That's where the magic happens, in the mess, in the wounds. That's, when we start to look at the debris, right? We don't shove it down, shove it down, shove it down. We go, all right, time, I got to get out a pretty big shovel some years and go like, what is this? And how did I create this? Why did I create this? And how can I make this creation now serve me and serve my integration? And so if this is something that you're desiring to access your guides, get to your why, get real clear about that, right? And then maybe practice on things that you're not attached to in any way. Do you know what I mean? Like, just because there's too much energy. I know someone right now who's just like listening to so many like astrologers and then listening to this and that and this and that. And there's this energy of wanting to get all these answers. And it's like, why? Why do you need the desire for these answers to know what the future is going to be? Why?
Yeah. And that brings me to like divining. And when we say the word divining, it's just like using tools to get messages from the spirit world. Like using tools to divine the future can also be very tricky. We don't even need to get into all of the timelines, but the future is not necessarily etched in stone in a way that can be communicated through tools like this.
The fabric of reality is malleable. So understand that the fabric of reality is malleable. And so anyone who believes that they can take a thread of this fabric and follow it to the straight line end and tell you what's going to happen, probably not.
Yeah, the answer is always going to be maybe. That could possibly happen, or this could possibly happen, or
because it's ever-changing reality. It is ever-changing reality. Yeah. That is what you can be sure in. The ever-changingness of the experience that we call life is changing in every second. In every nanosecond, it is changing. So to think that like someone's gonna get their crystal ball and tell you when you will find love, it's like, no. And it might occasionally just work out like that.
Right. It might, yeah. And so I'd like to kind of speak to the idea of a relationship when we are using these tools. You kind of mentioned it earlier, like building a relationship with a deck. Some people don't even let other people touch their decks. After someone touches them, maybe they smudge them to kind of clear that energy off. Crystals, especially if you're using a pendulum, which is like usually a little pointed crystal on the end of a chain or something like that. If you're using crystals, they absolutely hold energies. So we want to make sure to clear those out in whatever way you use. But the big picture here is we are building relationship with whatever we believe to be our higher guidance. And so if that is, you use the term God or goddess, or even just my higher self, like where you exist in your perfect state, building that relationship means, like any relationship, time and intention, time and energy, time and intention, right? So,
and honesty.
Ooh, yes. Don't ask her questions if you don't want the answer, the actual answer.
Well, honesty with yourself. So if you're not able to be honest with yourself, don't expect honest answers.
Oh, and I've gotten cards before. I'm like, really? Fuck you. Like, I guess I wasn't ready to hear this today, but I knew it was true.
Yeah. Right. Well, and we were talking too. I was talking to a client who's, accessing a little bit more of her intuition, and kind of dipping her toe in. She was very frustrated for a while, and so we've been kind of
Get it?
talking about that. And I said to her, if you were having guests in your home, what would you just like, I don't know, grab whatever in the fridge and throw it out on the table, and like you prepare. You prepare. You're like, what do I want to serve them? What am I gonna wear? Let me tidy up a little bit. Looks like I need to tidy a few things up. And so bringing that energy of inviting a special guests into your home, it's all right, let me tidy a few things up. Let me, create a space that is welcoming, that shows that this means something to me. This is special. So that's another element of it. And it's not like you said, some people don't want people to touch their cards and all of that, but it is creating intentionality and a reverence and something sacred to this. We go to church. I mean, I don't go to church in a church anymore, but I think most of us have had the experience of entering into a church, and there is a solemnity, or there's gorgeous stained glass crystal windows. There's maybe we got dressed for it. So whether you're trying to commune with your guides in nature or in your home, right? Bringing that solemnity to it. And that's just, I think it's appreciated.
Yeah. Reverence, awe. You set that tone for holiness, for something sacred. And kind of the last piece I want to share is when we're building that relationship and connecting with our intuition and our guides and our higher selves. And for those of us who we talked about this on a couple episodes, have externalized God for so long. So it's really was ingrained that God is outside of us and you must approach that God, in order to whatever. That coming to ourselves for answers can feel really foreign and scary, especially in the beginning, because we're used to someone else telling us what is best for us. And so I just want to encourage anyone who's maybe currently shedding an old system or really leaning into their intuition, maybe for the first time. I don't know how else to say this, but like you may get it wrong a lot while you're learning your own inner voice. And I would so much rather get it wrong in the process of building a relationship with my inner voice by always trusting myself versus not trusting myself, questioning that inner voice. Ooh, is that really? Because I will share some messages, and particularly like my parents will say, my mom will say like, well, how do you know that's not the devil, right? How do you know it's not some evil force trying to knock you off your course? How do you know? And this goes back to what Julie and I were talking about, of like, maybe in the beginning you're like, I don't know, I'm just going to trust that this feels right, and so I'm going to go with this way, and there may be mistakes made. Like I said, I would so much rather make those mistakes with this end goal of always trusting myself over what someone else is telling me.
And to that end, until the connection with yourself is established, this can be an outsourcing. It can be an outsourcing. And so, keep that in mind. And holiness is to recall and reclaim our wholeness.
Mm.
And that's really what this is all about. I think what we're all, those of us who are interested in what's happening, you know, in this spiritual movement or whatever you want to call it, it's just remembering the many ways in which we have forgotten who we are, and we are a spark. We are a spark of the divine, right? We are a spark of the divine having an experience, an earthly experience. And yeah, just we become holy as we remember we are whole.
Mhm. Beautiful.
So get your,
Listen to your own voice.
yes, you are your own guru, and you might not be acting like it right now, and that's okay. Okay, that's okay, because we've all been there, we'll all be there again, right? So anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all. And let us know if you've got favorite decks or different practices for divination. I'm always interested in how people access their guides and the spirit realm. So
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
bye all.